Now we have quite a number of guests. I'm sure you all recognize that by how many people were at the front door today. So if you could hold your applause until the very end, I would appreciate it. First guest of Adam Yu is Mary Zhu. We have a guest of Don Lewis, Trudy Turvey. We have a guest of Seth Patterson, Chris Walters. Guest of Craig McNeil, Zach Casebolt. Guest of Mike Roque is Jarrett Jackson. Then we have a few school districts here represented today. I'm not going to have time to go through everybody's names, so I'm just going to quickly go through the list of districts that are represented. We have a representative from Boulder Valley, Cherry Creek, Denver Public Schools, and the proposed Denver Ace High School, Westminster, and Adams County District 50, as well as the following organizations from the Challenger Learning Center in Colorado, College in Colorado, Ed News Colorado, Summit County STEM Team, and the Walton Family Foundation. Welcome. We have two visiting Rotarians today. Charlie Crew is from the Rancho Bernardo Club, which is near San Diego, and Larry Trelevin from Tacoma. Welcome. Some announcements. Family of Rotary, longtime member Jerry Toole passed away on October 1st. Jerry was a member of Club 31 for 30 years until 2003. Jerry was involved in Artists of America for 20 years and oversaw the layout, editing, and production of the printed materials for AOA. There will not be a service, but please keep the Toole family in your thoughts and prayers. We are still collecting contributions for the Colorado Rotary Flood Disaster Relief Fund, and links for donations are on our website, which is the drcf.denverrotary.org, and in each email blast. Save the date. The District 5450 Area 1 Club Assembly will be held the evening of October 29th at the Federal Reserve Building downtown. Look for registration information coming soon. October 17th, our program speaker is Dean Sobel, director of the Clifford Still Museum. After the lunch at the DAC, Dean has offered to give us a guided private tour to the first 30 Club 31 members who register. An email was sent out earlier from Jamie, so please take a look at that email. Also, when you register, please make sure you select one on there. There's been a few people who have registered but didn't truly register because they didn't do the drop-down box for one, so please, if you're unsure as to whether your registration went through or not, check with Jamie. Also, don't forget the deadline for the discounted Branch Rickey tickets is October 15th. Please make sure make your reservations now to support our club's major fundraiser. And then, as always, please take a look to the screen to my left here. While we're all doing fellowship, there are many announcements that are up on the board there as well. Kid comes home from first day of school. Mom asks, "What did you learn today?" Kid replies, "Not enough. I have to go back tomorrow." And one more. Student asks, "Teacher, would you punish me for something I didn't do?" The teacher looks at him, kind of confused. "Of course not." The student says, "Good, because I didn't do my homework today." Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Next, I'd like to invite Will to the stage for a networking moment.
Thank you, President Allison. First, Wynn Schuster-Hayes, where are you? Did you see the buzz that you created at the door today with all the networking you brought with you? Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate it. This is exactly what we're talking about. If you're not wearing the pin, you're not in. And just to prove that past presidents don't fade away, Jim McGivney's going to share a networking moment with us.
Will and I were talking, good afternoon. Will and I were talking at the door as I came in a little bit about the moment, thinking about being a part of Rotary, and I recount a little story from last evening. Last evening, I attended the Global Health Initiative collaboratorium at CSU in Fort Collins. It was quite impressive. They do some amazing research, and they're looking at the intersection of the genome between the animals, between humans, and between the environment, and how each of those influence each other. And it was a room full of very smart people. I was representing the consulate last night, so I had my consular pen on. And I got into a conversation with an older couple. We walked into the banquet together. It was all very formal. It was all very scientific. And as we talked, finally the elder lady said, "And my Rotary Club." And I said, "And you're a Rotarian?" She said, "Yes, and I didn't wear my pen. I had mine in my pocket." And at that point, I was introduced to everybody else in the room, and the whole evening, the tenor of my being there changed dramatically. And it was just something as simple as sharing being a part of the Rotary world. And she is the president of her club. I was president last year. So that just reinforced to me how important this Rotary is in our lifetime experience. By the way, Adam, you and Valerie Harper, you guys are on furlough. Let us know if we can help.
Thank you, Jim, so much. Once again, the power of the pin. Come early, stay late, wear the pin, stay plugged in. Thank you.
Jim, you're welcome up here anytime. Now I'd like to invite John Finnegan, Director of Estate and Gift Planning with the American Cancer Society, for a membership moment.
Thank you, President Allison and fellow Rotarians. I'm filling in once again for our great membership committee leader, Mark Donovan, and he asked me to share a few words with you today. He said, our theme, Know Your Membership Committee, and of course we've got these blue badges now. We know that the most effective recruiting strategy is to be invited to join Club 31 by another Rotarian, and that means all of us need to be involved. And we want to make your job as simple as possible. We know how important it is for our club to continue to grow and thrive. So Mark heard a slogan recently he wanted to share. He said the best slogan he's heard recently is, we have a massive appetite for service. And the only way to satisfy that appetite is to grow like crazy. So the last 2 weeks in a row, we've inducted some outstanding new Rotarians in Brent Spahn and Michael Armstrong. And we currently have 5 applications waiting in the wings and are tracking additional 35 new potential Rotarians who have an interest in or have visited our club, thanks to you. The energy of these new Rotarians is palpable. Get to know them and help them to get to know us. So that statement that struck a chord with Mark, made me think, why is it that I'm so enthusiastic about Club 31? And so I thought, well, gosh, it makes me feel more part of this community. And I thought, everybody in this room, this I know, is a lifelong learner. What a great place to continue to learn, not only from our great speakers, but from each other. Look at the expertise in this room. And so that's great. I love making new friends, and we've got a large enough club and a continual flow of guests that it's a great way to make new friends. So these are just a couple of the things that I thought about. And so I'm reaching out to you and asking, what resonates with you? Why did you first become a Rotarian? Why do you continue to be enthusiastic about Club 31? And how can we improve? So send us your emails. Let us know your thoughts so that we can do our job more effectively. Thanks very much.
Next, I'd like to invite Charlie Crew, past president of the Rotary Club of Rancho Bernardo, to the podium for a flood disaster relief check presentation. And while Charlie's on the way up, I thought I would give you all an update on how much we've raised so far. Together, we've raised $30,410. That is super fantastic.
Okay. I'm from the Rotary Club of Rancho Bernardo. Some of you remember the news from 6 years ago. Remember the Witch Creek fire that burned through San Diego, burning 3,000 homes. And I was president of the club that year, and I spent 2 or 3 days receiving phone calls and emails from Rotarians and Rotary clubs all over the country. It was amazing how much help we got, and our club since then has been paying it forward. As a result of the floods that you've had in Colorado, I'd like to present to your Rotary Club from our Rotary Club at Rancho Bernardo a check for $1,000 towards your foundation for the floods. And while I'm at it, I've got a traditional banner. This is the one you gave me. This is the one I'm going to give to you. There we go. From the Rotary Club of Rancho Bernardo.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Next, I would like to invite Warren Donder, Branch Rickey Auction co-chair, to the podium for a Branch Rickey auction announcement.
Thank you, President Allison. I love your shoes. You always surprise us with those. As everybody know when the Branch Rickey Award is, what day? November 16th. Does everybody know where it is? It's at the Marriott Center City, same place it's been about the last 5 years. On behalf of Jody Brown, who's not able to join us, my co-chair, and the rest of the auction committee members, give you a little bit of an update. We have about 50 to 60 items so far. We will have Denver kids doing 15 to 20 plates this year. Those are usually a pretty quick seller, so be on the lookout for those. We have a bunch of baseball and sports memorabilia, which we always have. We have some surprise items as well. What we need your help with will be, we're going to have the Wall of Wine again. So we have 100 bottles of wine, and you get a ticket for that. So we need some help there. The table over here to my right is where I'll be each week going forward to collect bottles of wine and any other auction items that you have. So that would be a good thing to bring if you could. We could also use some restaurant gift certificates. I know a lot of fellow Rotarians go to restaurants quite frequently, so don't be shy about asking for a gift certificate. And any timeshares or condos or summer or winter houses that you have that you'd like to donate, that would be great too. Also, just an FYI, we will have some new technology that we will be using. So this year at the auction, the silent auction, you're not going to have what was known in the past with bid sheets. Everything is going to be on either a smartphone or a tablet. So a week before the silent auction opens, if you're registered, if you signed up, you're going to get an email saying that you can go online and view the items, and if you want to place a bid. The night of the event, you bring your smartphone, you make a bid based on your bidder number. If you get outbid, you get a text. So you don't have to stand in front of the item and make sure you're the lowest bidder, so you're going to get a text. I know we do have some members that maybe are not that technology savvy. We will have some people walking around with some iPads to help you through that process and to get updated on your bids. Also, on checkout, it's really going to be easy. So, as we say in the auction world, bid high and bid often. Thank you. Thanks, Alice.
Thanks, Warren. It sounds like it's going to be a really fun event. And now I'd like to invite Jim White, Club Service Committee Chair, to announce perfect attendance. And I'd like to say thank you to Jim. He was on the agenda last week, but we ran out of time, so he graciously agreed to come this week instead. So thanks, Jim.
Thank you very much. Today I would like to honor 50 of our members who have obtained the perfect attendance record for this last year. I'd kind of like to mention to you, you can start your perfect attendance at any point in your Rotary career. I mean, if you didn't make the second meeting after you joined, you can still start and have perfect attendance. If you've been here for 10 years, you can still start. And I highly recommend that you try that, because as these members, who I'm going to call their names in a couple of minutes, can tell you, having the perfect attendance badge, the numbers on your badge, or the certificate that you can get from the Rotary office that hang on your wall, it really doesn't mean a thing. What really is important is the fact that when you go to that makeup meeting, you're going to find that the arms of Rotary open up to you and you're welcomed all over the world. 33,000 clubs in our world, 165 or so countries, and whether you speak the language or whether you don't, I mean, we just made up a meeting in Paris not long ago, and I don't speak French, but they'll find somebody that speaks your language, and you'll have one of the best experiences of your lifetime. So I'd like to encourage you to try and do that. Now, for those of you who wonder why does Rotary require perfect attendance, it's basically because if you look down for a second at your badge, just take a look at your badge, or if you don't remember what your classification is, each of us has a classification that's unique. And that classification is an attempt of our Rotary Club and every Rotary Club in the world to try and obtain a cross-section of the professional or the business community in that particular community. They try to get a lawyer, and in our case we have 50. I mean, they try to get a doctor. In our case we probably have 30. But I mean, you know, you try to get one person from each classification to represent the entire feel of the community. Now, when you're not here at Rotary, the rest of us miss the opportunity to experience what you can offer with that classification. And that's the one and only reason why Rotary requires at least a 50% attendance. Otherwise, the rule says you're kicked out. Now, sometimes we're a little bit lax on that rule in the Denver Club, but that's the way it goes. So let me read the names of those, and I'd like you to look at these people as they stand up. Just stand and remain standing as I read your names, and then talk to these people. And it's not that they've got a perfect attendance number on their badge. Ask them what they've experienced, and you too will want to become a perfect attender at least next year. With 1 year of perfect attendance, just starting out brand new, we have Mark Donovan, Carter Sales, and Adam Yu. If you three could stand up and remain standing. With 2 years of perfect attendance, we have Valerie Hopkins, Lanny Langton, Jim McGibney. Here's a guy who was our president last year. You know he didn't start when he joined, but he's got 2 years perfect attendance now. Rich Sprung. With 3 years of perfect attendance, we have Pam Adams, Todd Bacon, Ed Berger, and Don Lewis. And if you're here, please stand and remain standing until we finish this list of 50. With 4 years of perfect attendance, John Finnegan, Debbie Kaufman, Bob Loudermilk. With 5 years of perfect attendance, Mitch Benedict, Warren Downder, Jack Green, Bob Heiserman, Seth Patterson, and Gary Shrink. Start to look around at these people, and you'll see that they know something maybe you don't. With 6 years of perfect attendance, Nancy Austin, Wynn Gandera, and Will Snyder. With 7 years of perfect attendance, Harriet Downer, Dennis Cooper, and Doug McLemore. 8 years, Don Schloop, John Stewart, and Pete Wall. That's 8 years of never missing a Rotary meeting. Within a couple weeks, one side or the other, you have to go make up a meeting somewhere. 9 years of perfect attendance, we have Larry Gloss, Phil Godert, Ed Heath, Peg Johnson, Charlie Miller, and Arthur Roy. With 10 years, we have Brian Geis and Steve Mast. 11 years of perfect attendance, Chuck Everall. With 12 years, Frank Lawrence. 19 years of perfect attendance, now we're getting up pretty close to 20, Carl Berg, John Klug, and Mike Muftick. There must be some reason, Carl, why you've had those 19 years. I mean, let these other people know what it is. With 24 years of perfect attendance, Ved Nanda. 26 years, we have Young Cho and Rod Greiner. With 28 years of perfect attendance, Grant Wilkins. 39 years, Fred Taylor. 42 years, I don't know if I can pronounce this guy's name, it's Jim White. And 49 years of perfect attendance, Bob Sawyer. And 55 years, here's a member who's got 55 years of a perfect attendance, and we never see him at our club. but he makes up every week someplace, and that's Phil Pankey, 55 years of perfect attendance, and he holds the record in Club 31. Let's give ourselves and all of these people a hand. And thank you very much for the perfect attendance records, folks. If you want a certificate, please let Jamie know on your way out the door that you'd like the Rotary Club to give you a certificate. It's a nice plaquable certificate that you can hang on the wall. It has your number of years of perfect certificate. Thanks again, and have a good day.
Jim, thank you for your leadership and for having 42 years of perfect attendance. Next, I'd like to invite Gwen Schuster-Haynes to introduce our program speaker, Vince Bertram.
Good afternoon, guests, Colorado school leaders, and fellow Rotarians. As a state, Colorado consistently ranks second or third as having the highest percentage of people with bachelor's and master's degrees. Having so many educated citizens means opportunities, new business creation, and a high quality of life for those of us in this state. Unfortunately, when we look at our homegrown students, the picture is not so rosy. Colorado ranks 47th for high school graduates who continue on to college, and our high school graduation rate falls dangerously close to the bottom 20% of our 50 states. It's the Colorado paradox. Our mountains help lure talented individuals to high-paying opportunities that are often out of reach for our own kids. For the benefit of our guests, I want to say that the Rotary Club here has a rich history of creating opportunities for underserved young people. After World War II, Denver Boys, Inc. was founded to stem dropout rates because fathers didn't return home from the war. Sorry. In 1970s, Denver Girls, Inc. was founded to stem dropout rates due to teen pregnancies. And our club, through Branch Rickey and many other fundraisers, continues to support the combined organization Denver Kids, Inc. In addition, we award vocational scholarships and have a robust mentor scholarship program. Today, we're here to learn more about STEM. Project Lead the Way is a nonprofit that creates hands-on, rigorous, relevant, real-world STEM curriculum. I think of PLTW as a great equalizer. Since July of 2012, as Director of School Engagement for Colorado, I've witnessed firsthand how PLTW changes lives. Quishmaker was a Nepali refugee who arrived at Aurora Central High School not knowing English. He thrived in our biomedical sciences program. This spring, he not only graduated from Aurora Central, which is quite an accomplishment where over half the kids do not graduate from high school, but he was a Gates Millennium Scholar. He's studying biomedical engineering at CU Boulder and will have the next 7 years of college paid for him anywhere in this country. Under Dr. Bertram's tutelage, these stories are not rare. PLTW has grown over 50% in this 2 years at the leadership helm. It now reaches nearly 600,000 students annually. PLTW is in all 50 states and in over 5,000 schools. In Colorado, we're in 23 of the state's 179 school districts. Equally important to Dr. Bertram's impressive educational credentials and his superintendency of an inner-city urban school district in Indiana and its unprecedented improvements is Dr. Bertram's vision to create sustainable STEM programs that allow America's students to be competitive. Add to that vision Dr. Bertram's passion and a moral compass that means he lives the four-way test in everything he does, and it is my pleasure today to introduce Dr. Vince Bertram speaking on building America's future, students, STEM, and the global economy. Thank you.
It is an honor to be with you today, and thank you to each of you for being here. For many of you who have been here for many years. I'm impressed with the perfect attendance. I remember when I was a high school principal, I decided that we wanted to give perfect attendance awards. So at the end of year banquet, I was announcing all of the perfect attendance, and I had a student who had never missed a day of school since kindergarten. I went through this entire presentation, welcomed everyone, told about this amazing accomplishment, invited him to the stage, and he was absent. But But it's really amazing the type of commitment you've made and that you make as Rotarians. And again, thank you, and to our staff, PLW staff, team here today, as well as many educators, business leaders, community icons, and people that are making a difference for our children. You know, I got into this work not because I looked at it as a career, but rather as a mission. You know, I grew up poor. And I remember like it was yesterday when my father walked out on us. And my mom worked multiple jobs, and it was hard. We moved many times. I thought it was really cool at the time. I didn't realize, however, until years later that we were trying to avoid eviction. And I remember playing basketball. We do that in Indiana occasionally, even if you're not very good. But I was on my 5th grade basketball team, and you think about the people who've inspired us, that have given us hope, that wouldn't give up on us. And it was in 5th grade, I went to practice, and all my teammates had this brand new pair of shoes. They were called Adidas Top 10. They were cool shoes before the Jordans. And I went home and told my mom, I said, Mom, all my teammates have these shoes, and I would really like to have a pair. And she said, I will get you a new pair of shoes. And she worked several jobs, and I know she was working hard. And I came home from school one day, and she said, Vince, I have a surprise for you. And I opened the box and discovered the ugliest shoes I had ever seen. I didn't have the heart to tell her these are not Adidas Top 10, and they're ugly. But I went to practice the next day, and I went in the locker room and started lacing up my shoes. And it was Heath Johnson. He looked at me and he said, Vince, I had a pair of shoes like that until my dad got a job. And I will tell you, you know that words matter when you remember them 35 years later. I went home that night and just cried. Went back to practice the next day, opened my locker, and there was a box at the top. So this must not be my locker. I shut the locker, and it was, in fact, mine. I opened it back up, pulled the box down, and a card fell off the top. I opened this card, and it said, Dear Vince, tell Heath Johnson that those were your practice shoes. And I opened the box, and it was a brand new pair of Adidas Top 10. And I didn't know for years where those shoes came from until I discovered it came from Ezra Brown, our school custodian, who overheard Heath Johnson that day and went out and bought me a new pair of shoes. I learned something really important from Ezra Brown that day, that leadership and inspiration isn't about a position or title, that we can lead from any seat, that we can make a difference for people regardless of our income, regardless of our position. A few years later, I went back and I visited Ezra Brown. I needed to let him know just how important he had been to me and the lesson he had taught me. I sat in his living room and I said, Ezra, do you remember when you bought me that new pair of shoes? And he looked at me. He said, no, I really don't. Like, you don't remember? You bought me a new pair of shoes. I said, I'm sorry, Vince, I don't remember. And it struck me. He didn't remember because that's what he did for all of us. that wasn't about a special occasion for him. It was about doing what's right for children every day. And then you don't remember. Or when I was a sophomore in high school and I was ready to drop out. Both my parents had dropped out of high school. It just wasn't a big deal. I didn't see the relevance to school. I was one of those kids, when will I ever need this? And so I visited my principal's office occasionally, usually not by choice. And it was Phil Gardner, my high school principal. When I was expecting the wrath of Mr. Gardner, he pulled me aside. He said, "I see you're here again." I said, "I like you, Mr. Gardner." He wasn't laughing. But that day, he pulled me aside and he grabbed me by the shoulders. And I can still feel his grip today. And he looked me in the eyes. He said, "You can give up on yourself, but I refuse to give up on you." That was a defining moment for me. I wanted to be just like him. I wanted to work with people that would never give up on children. Regardless of their background, their experience, we can't give up on kids. And that's what led me into education. And then down this path of urban education specifically. I wanted to be in a place in which children needed us, in which we could come together to make a difference for them. And it was leading a large urban high school. 2,400 students, 25% of our kids were walking out the door without a diploma. At least another 25 were graduating with a credential simply because they had learned how to do school. But they didn't have the skills and knowledge to be successful. And I discovered an organization called Project Lead the Way. We implemented in our program, in our school. A year later, we had 400 kids in Project Lead the Way. 3 years later, 800 students. A third of our school was in PLTW. And I was sold. And then as an urban school superintendent, we set out to put PLTW in all of our middle and high schools. Why? Because it fundamentally changed the way teachers teach and the way students learn. Project Lead the Way, as Gwen mentioned, is a national nonprofit organization in nearly 6,000 schools across the United States in all 50 states. But it is different. Our world-class curriculum is all project activity-based. It focuses on the depth of learning, getting kids to think critically, to problem solve, to collaborate, to build these critical skills that are absolutely essential for our economy. They're rigorous but relevant. Just like when I asked the question, and I presume that many of you have never asked the question, why do I have to learn this? If the best we can give to our students is that it's on the test, we are absolutely wasting their time. We have to make learning relevant. We have to connect what students are learning today with what they need in their future. We currently have 3 programs: a gateway program for middle school students, pathways to engineering for high school, as well as biomedical sciences. Starting in 2014, next fall, we will have a full elementary school program, K through 5, as well as computer science and software engineering. Building these pathways from K-12 and then to higher education into the workplace. The second thing we do, we train teachers. This summer we trained nearly 4,000 teachers. We've trained thousands of teachers across the country to fundamentally change practice. It's not about, and this is a mistake that many states made, in my opinion. When we look at our global positioning in math and science, we see countries that are moving up exponentially and our country declining in many respects. around performance of our students, we rush to say we need more math and science. So what we do, we just add more of the same. It just doesn't make sense. To take something that we've done from K through 11 and say, now let's just add another year of math. Let's just continue to bore our kids to death. Just give them more of the same. Or we retain students because they haven't learned math and science, and we put them back in the same classroom they were in the year before, and they just start all over again. It doesn't make sense. So what we have to do is change practice and focus on, again, the depths of learning and moving from teaching to the disseminator of information to the role of a coach and a facilitator. To continue to advance the curiosity of our young children. We tell our teachers that good things are happening in a classroom when children are asking questions that you can't answer. When their minds are working in a way. And it's a risky proposition for teachers. We have so many wonderful teachers. But it's risky. It's okay to say, I don't know. Let's learn together. So we hear from our teachers that we're learning together. It's how innovation and discoveries are made. The third area of our organization deals with our network. It's not enough just to offer curriculum and to focus on teaching, but we need this to be about community. We need it to be about you, to engage our university and college partners, to engage businesses and employers. And why? Because your voice matters. It's part of the relevancy to all of this. When students and teachers and schools and school leaders, when all of us know that it matters to you, it matters to us. That students can develop these critical skills that they need to be your next employee, next generation of the workforce in the state and our country. So when I look at our reach, we've talked about the numbers just this morning, change the equation. A national organization created by many companies around the United States. I spent the last several years vetting national organizations that can scale up, can deliver high-quality STEM education in America. Just this morning, changed the equation, named 4 national scale-up models, including Project Lead the Way, which we're very excited about. But as I think about the 4-way test, the first question, is it the truth? Does it work? Or is it another case of educational malpractice? The reality is, over the last several years, the evidence is compelling. Our students do better. Our students outperform. We see increases across many disciplines as a result of the kind of learning that students get and have in our program. That's why we have to continue to take this to scale. 6,000 is not enough. 600,000 is not enough. We have 54 million children in K-12 education in this nation. There are a lot of kids waiting for this kind of opportunity and this kind of experience. Robert Tye, a professor at the University of Virginia, wrote a white paper on PL2W. It's available on our website at pl2w.org. He just looked at all the studies that have been done on us over the last 15 years, and he concluded the evidence is compelling. It works. It works. And I would tell you this work has never been more important in our country. We have this persistent skills gap. In America today, we have over 20 million people unemployed, underemployed, yet we have 3.7 million jobs unfilled because employers can't find the people with the skills and knowledge to fill them. We know by the year 2018, we're going to see STEM-related jobs grow by over 17%, more than double all other jobs combined. But we also know we will have approximately 1.2 million jobs unfilled. This is where the great jobs are. Nationwide, we see STEM jobs and hourly wages outpacing non-STEM jobs by $5 to $10 an hour. Job postings in STEM outnumber non-STEM job postings over 2 to 1. And really, if schools are the pipeline in the STEM workforce, there just aren't enough students inspired to do this kind of work. But the students are there. There are just too many uninspired, unengaged, talented young people. We have to do something about this. We cannot allow our students to direct their future toward dead-end jobs, unemployment, and poverty. Some of us in this room have lived that life. I had a little fifth grader. He looked me in the eyes. He was in a school. He was sitting at a computer. He was working on robots. And I'm waiting for this great question that I was going to find difficult to answer. He looked up and he said, "Hey, big guy, what keeps you up at night?" I said, "It's you. You keep me up at night." It's those fifth graders that keep us up at night. We have to fix this. This is about our global competitors. This is about our economic prosperity. It's about our quality of life. And it's about our national security. But we have to act. We cannot accept the inequity that exists in education today. And it's not about blaming. We can blame parents. We can blame community, society. We can blame teachers and administrators. We can place the blame wherever we want. But now is not the time to place blame. It's a time to go to work. When I look at STEM jobs, particularly take engineering, for instance, we have 14% women in engineering. It's unacceptable. In underrepresented minorities, 5 to 6% nationwide represented in engineering alone. It's just unacceptable. Why is that? Why can't we find ways to engage more children in this work? If we were just able to increase the number of women underrepresented minorities to the level of white males, we could close this achievement gap and the skills gap that exists. But still not enough. So the big question is, what is STEM? We talk about science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and I would say many schools will say we're doing this. We teach these subjects, but that's not what STEM is about. STEM is about finding a place in which students get to apply their learning. They get to apply math and science in rigorous ways. They get to find and discover how their world works. And I remember doing this as a student, watching it as a principal and superintendent. We would spend hours, days making volcanoes. And I would ask teachers, why are we doing that? It came down to a couple of things. One, the kids like it. It's project-based. They enjoy doing things. We know how to do this. And kids don't know how their cell phones work. They don't know modern technology. They're not learning how to solve real-world problems. It's kind of like when you take an iPad. I had a group of students, we reverse engineered the first iPad. In the first iPad, in the cradle, there was a hole at the top, but there were no screws going through the hole. We asked the students, why is there a hole in the cradle? Anyone know why there's a hole in the cradle? Because that was the place for the camera for iPad 2. Right? The kids start to think and discover. But we also have to get to our students earlier. Our students have this natural curiosity. They're inquisitive. We have to get to them before they turn it off. Students determine whether they're good in math and science as early as second and third grade. We have to ignite that imagination and that excitement. We have to focus on project, activity, problem-based learning. Howard Gardner says that the greatest deficit in American education is the ability of our students, or inability of our students, to apply learning in a context in which it wasn't learned. And think about that. We learned science down there, math down there, What we do in PLW is pull that together to make that contextual relevance. He also says in America we teach a mile wide and an inch deep. That we're focused on content coverage rather than the depth of learning. In PLW, we do the opposite of both of those. We build out K-12 programs, so we focus on breadth. At the same time, we go into project activity-based learning to focus on the depth. So as we develop these critical thinking, problem-solving, collaboration skills, focus on high-quality professional development, engage higher education, employers, and businesses, we also have to help our students understand and parents understand just how important this is. See, I believe, and I heard Gwen say this, and I don't believe education is the great equalizer. I believe education is the great differentiator. We don't get an education to be like everyone else. We get an education to get ahead and to do things that we want to do. We're going to do the same as a country. As we elevate education and advancement of these skills and knowledge, we will continually differentiate our nation, not just be on par. It's not good enough. But to do this, we have to stop making excuses. We have to stop focusing on and looking at things like poverty. Our kids can do this work. We have evidence all over the nation where they're doing it. Poverty is a temporary condition unless we allow it to continue. We can help kids escape poverty. And it's going to be through education. I'm going to give you an example. We're going to show you just a short video. A school, Toppenish High School, Yakima, Washington.
Toppenish is located in south central Washington in the edge of wine country. We're an agricultural area. We have a migrant population of about 20%. Our minority population exceeds 95%, and our free and reduced lunch is near 100%. The experts would say that our high poverty, high minority would indicate that we have the factors that would make us not successful, but what has made us successful in part is the implementation of Project Lead the Way in the engineering curriculum and the biomedical. We approached our math department, our science department, and they developed a vision through our visits with other schools and implemented it fantastically. When we first implemented Project Lead the Way, and I'd go into a classroom, I couldn't tell who the teacher was because we would not only have students working collaboratively, but we'd have 2, 3, and sometimes 4 adults in the classroom, 4 teachers collaborating together on the process of engineering. Other people in the science department and the math department saw what was happening, became interested in the collaborative nature, and wanted to be a part of it. And that grew the next year. Our first year we offered 5 classes, second year 17, third year 27, and we're on pace for about 30 classes this year of biomedicine and engineering.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
The reason why Project Lead the Way is so important to this community is it gives our students career opportunities that they're not going to find anywhere else. The program is very rigorous, and because of the rigor our kids are taking and the relevancy, our kids are taking the upper division math classes now, the upper division science classes, where they understand that there's engineering all around us.
Which one would you define as your top few? Teaching the engineering, the students were able to grasp the concepts and see the relevance of what they were learning. Why was it that they were learning mathematics? Well, mathematics is a shortcut. They finally get to see it when they're working with their gears and working with hands-on projects. The teacher is more facilitating and bringing resources to the students and making those available instead of just being the fountain of knowledge that somehow is going to transfer that over. The curriculum allows entry points of learning at every level. The students have to interact, they have to communicate, and every student finds something that they can be successful at. That's huge.
And then the bracket ends, right? After I took one class, I was pretty much hooked, and I was like, man, this is great. Taking 5 engineering classes in high school has prepared me to understand if I really like engineering or not. So since I've taken all these classes, it's influenced my major and really confirmed that, oh, I do want to do engineering.
All right, let's see what you got.
Other kids should take Project Lead the Way classes because it's very different. It's very hands-on. You have instructors giving you instructions, but also helping you and giving you the freedom to do whatever you want. You get numerous opportunities handed to you, you're basically treated as an adult.
If you're looking for a curriculum that engages students and keeps their attention, and I believe is actually easier to teach, you need to take a look at Project Lead the Way. The students respond very well and they're engaged. It's always fresh. The curriculum changes, it evolves. We find that our kids are able to go outside and get jobs in the technical field right out of high school because they're familiar with software, they're familiar with equipment, they're familiar with procedures.
Because of the background, it gets hard to read.
If I had to say what got our name out there as a school, it would be Project Lead the Way. It got our name out there statewide. We had the statistics of our students that were taking above and beyond their regular math courses and science courses because of their interest in engineering specifically. And I think that translated at the national level, especially with the focus of our nation towards STEM education.
Doable with you, with what you have already written?
It's changed the culture of our high school. They can compete. And now that they know that, more of our kids are going on to post-secondary education.
As a sophomore, I kind of didn't even want to go to school for a while. Project Lead the Way influenced me to kind of go to school and do a career, but it's something that I love doing. I'm looking forward to it. My parents are very proud. They see more of a light bulb going off in my head now. I wasn't really never too close with my parents like that. And after I started kind of getting involved, they got interested and then they got kind of involved with me.
I'm sensing a stronger level of energy within the community as a result of the program. For a small community like the town of Toppenish to have the reputation that's coming from Toppenish High School for being highly engaged, I think it speaks well to the program. I look at this from a business perspective as an investment in our future.
Are those brackets going to mess that up?
I don't understand why schools would not use Project Lead the Way. The curriculum is there, the training is there, it's extensive, it's detailed, and just want to reaffirm that the success that we've had here at Toppenish is in large part due to our relationship with Project Lead the Way.
I was in Washington, D.C. yesterday, and Tuesday night I had dinner with Omar. He is a freshman in mechanical engineering. These kids can do this work. It's really about high expectations. Or we look at girls and these pathways, and we go to Hilliard Davidson High School in Hilliard, Ohio. He said, we don't have enough girls. And they broke through. Now over 40% of their program is girls. So in closing, a couple things I just want to leave with you. We have to continue to encourage our students to dream, but also help them make great decisions and to be smart about it. I believe it's through rational advice, just follow your dreams. We have to help students understand where the great jobs and careers are and the kind of skills and knowledge they need to get them. And for all of us, this is about great jobs, great careers, great economy. I don't know a parent, and I gave this example to a group of parents. I said, I'm going to give you two. One, just follow your dreams, do whatever you want, and they can live with you for the next 10 years, or go get skills and knowledge and go get a job. Which do you want for your children? And they all said, I want the latter. If it's good enough for our children, it's good enough for all children. And that's what we have to do. I just believe our greatest threat is not whether we can solve this problem, it's rather whether we have the will to do it. Whether we can lift this blanket of oppressive low expectations, we can inspire our children and believe that all children are capable and all children are worthy. I had a professor named Gary Orfield, who started the Harvard Civil Rights Project. I was in his class, and Gary, we were talking about urban poverty. I asked Gary, I said, I'm really interested in your perspective on this, Gary. Tell me what you think it's going to take to solve this problem. He said, stay with me, and over the course of this semester, I will tell you what I believe. Great, thanks, Gary. 8 weeks in, I said, Gary, I'm still interested in your perspective on this. He said, Vince, just stay with me and I'll give you what I believe to be the answer. 16 weeks, last night of class. I said, Gary, it's the last night of class. I'd really like to know what you think. He said, Vince, you're the most impatient person I know. End of class tonight, I will give you what I believe to be the answer. At the end of class, he said to all of us, you've been asking, we've been studying, and we've been thinking. And the answer to all of these issues is you. I thought, I just waited 16 weeks for you to tell me it's up to me. We can wait for someone else to solve the problems, or we can do it. That's what has to distinguish our organization, and that's what distinguishes Rotarians. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for believing in our children. Have a great afternoon.
Vince, thank you so much for speaking today. We have a gift for you, Branch Rickey Baseball, and a book about the first 100 years of Rotary. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Next week, we're going to hear Richard Bryan, international speaker, author, and entrepreneur leading in tough times. You know, I like to say that Rotarians are people with a soul for service. Today, we have heard how a custodian and a principal made a lasting impact on Vince's life journey. Charlie and the Rotary Club of Rancho Bernardo paid it forward to us with $1,000 for our club for our flood relief program. Within the $30,000 that we've raised, we've had donations from the Rotary Henderson Club in Texas, the Mountain Vista Interact, and Women in Rotary. So stay early, come early, stay late, and wear your pin with pride. Have a great week.